best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
Discover crypto, discover the end of the year, discover a new year. Happy New Year, everybody. We have a huge show to wrap up this year. This is the last live stream of Discover Crypto, of BitLab Academy, of Blockchain Basement of 2025. But what is in store for 2026? Is there any real reason to be hopeful? Is it just hopium? Is there real reasons to be bullish, or should we pack it up and leave? Because there are signs and signals out there that tell us very clearly that we could be seeing Bitcoin go all the way down here to $56,000. What the hell, Kelly? I thought you were a bull. I am a bull, but I'm also very aware of possibilities in this market. And in today's stream, I'm going to break down for you where I think the price is going in 2026, what we need to watch out for, some very key signals that are unraveling right now as we speak, but also why I think 2026 is going to be overwhelmingly bullish. Now, again, back to that target that feels so scary, $56,000. I want to show you something really quick. This level, this is the realized price, the average price of every Bitcoin in circulation the last time it moved. So right now, that's at 56,000. Now, why would this be an important number? Well, let's go and look back in time. Every time, not sometime, every time Bitcoin's price has come down to that level, especially below it, this has been an absolutely monumentally generational time to buy Bitcoin. So if we are to get the gift of Bitcoin dropping down to a very known zone, that is a key signal for incredible accumulation and stacking opportunity, which would be about $56,000 as it stands right now, then I would be moving heaven and earth to stack as much as possible. So while this is on the chart and we can see 56,167, does that mean that I think we're going to $56,000? I think it's a lower probability that we get down into that zone. But if we are to have a bigger washout to the downside, I'm watching this as a very key characteristic of an overwhelmingly good buying opportunity. But where do I think price is actually going to go? But first off, before we get into that, everybody, I just want to say how much we appreciate each and every one of you here in the Discover Crypto family, all the way from ancient Rome, all the way over here to Bitcoin and the new world of blockchain and everything that we are doing together, talking about life, talking about hardship, talking about growth, talking about prosperity and inspiration, and also letting go of ourselves being victims. That's one of the core tenets of Bitcoin, is that you can take your life into your hands. So let's stop being a victim of price action. Let's stop being a victim of influencers. Let's stop saying it's that person that told me that. No, we are going to take 2026 by storm, because we are going to take hold of everything that we hold dear, and we're going to hold ourselves accountable on really making some really good decisions. And I hope that you all recognize that everybody here in the Discover Crypto family, from TJ to Drew to DZ to Tim to Brian, there's a number of people here also behind the scenes, that we do our best to make sure that we are really providing you the absolute top-notch alpha and thoughts and opinions on what's going on, not just in Bitcoin or your favorite meme coin or altcoins, but also the correlation of what's happening on the global financial stage, because all these things are intertwined. So as we step into 2026, it's happening tonight. In fact, in some places in the world, it's already 2026. So we need to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable and we find joy this year. And we also find incredible opportunities to turn some massive, massive, massive profits. And that's going to take some patience. It's going to take conviction. And it's going to take basically discerning all of the noise that's out there so that we can make the best decisions for ourselves. And I hope that I can be basically a data point for you within the matrix, within the different ingredients that you have, because you're not just watching us, you're watching different things, you're in different places, you have different circles and different worlds that we all live in. And I hope that I can be a positive inspiration point for you and bring you some really good data. So let's get into it. And everybody hit that like button, show some love, hit the subscription button, and drop some comments in in the live chat right there, and drop them down below if you're watching later. But let's get into it, guys, because we got some big things in store. And, there's stories. There's people also asking what the hell is going on in the market that we've basically have headlines like this. The crypto industry won. We won in 2025, but Bitcoin and crypto just completely feels like it's just decimated our souls of expectation. So what's in store for 2026? I think this is a great place to start because it really characterizes a couple very big things here. And that is this right here. Retail's mood, extraordinarily negative. How do we know? Because we've been highlighting this every single day. At least I have, that we've been streaming over the last months and years. And what we're seeing is that when we're in these low levels of confidence, AKA fear or greed, dark red is fear, dark green is greed. These have been incredible opportunities when everybody's scared running the other direction for pretty not only bounces, but very strong bounces into a continuation higher, strong bounce into a continuation higher. In fact, this marked the bottom, but after a hell of a lot of painful, not only fear, but price action, the cascading failures. Now, what do you notice that's different in 2022 versus what we're seeing now? I want you all to take this very seriously because there's people arguing that we are in a bear market right now and we're going to have another year, maybe 2 years before we see bullish price action. This price action in 2022 was marked by a major top 10 cryptocurrency failing and then causing the unwinding, the cascading failures throughout and across the crypto ecosystem, from BlockFi to Voyager to Celsius, all the way ultimately up until we got the FTX collapse here. So not only was this on the 4-year time scale, the structure that everybody said has to happen, it is fixed, but we also had this unwinding of the market and confidence at the same time. What do we see right here? We're seeing a near-term unwinding of expectation. We're seeing a lot of fear. People don't know what the hell's going on, but it's at the same time, back to the headline, the crypto industry won in 2025. We have a crypto-friendly administration and a never-ending onslaught of overwhelmingly bullish, fundamentally bullish landscape surrounding the ecosystem surrounding Bitcoin, digital assets, stable coins, blockchain, how these things interweave, interconnect, and engage with global financial structures, real world asset tokenization. Hell, we even have the NASDAQ saying that they're NASDAQ, DTCC, the CFTC director, Paul Atkins, everything in the market is going to be tokenized within the next 2 years. That's the level of confidence. That's the level of discourse that we have in the year 2025. The president of the United States, whether you like him or not, is a pretty powerful force in global markets, especially with the way as things are getting set up and initiated in different regions and different legalities, right? What is the structure for which different governments and different businesses and commerce is going to take on and integrate or limit or structure around blockchain? 2025 is a year that marks the first overwhelming milestone that the world has jumped on board the crypto ecosystem. So while we're looking at Bitcoin and we see Bitcoin is in a downtrend right now, and 2025 was supposed to be so bullish. Well, what do we see? We saw this basically, I mean, this is only since October, but let's go over here to the weekly. Let's mark out where the start of the year is. Here's basically right about here. This is the inauguration day, but the very start of the year would have been right here. So we've had just chop. It's been a year of trying to figure out, let's turn off all the different lines. This has been a year of trying to figure out what the hell it means that BlackRock is going so aggressively into Bitcoin, that Fidelity is going so aggressively into Bitcoin, that strategic Bitcoin reserves on the most powerful country in the world are being discussed. Different parliaments around the world discussing what it means to integrate and utilize and accept, Bitcoin and digital assets. This is the great rotation of the old epoch of everything being in the face of Bitcoin and crypto assets to now literally right here. This is all we've done, guys. Let's go to the 3 days so we can actually get a little bit more granular. January 1st, right there. So from this period right here, January 1st all the way to here. I mean, this is all we've seen. This is the only amount of time we've seen in Bitcoin and crypto in general. This is it. This is all the price action we've seen since the world stepped onto the stage of talking about really stepping into blockchain and crypto in a big way. There's so much more to come. So again, when I talk about that $56,000 Bitcoin, again, I'm not saying it's going there. I'm saying the technical chart shows, based on every Bitcoin in circulation, the last time it was moved. So if I've been holding a Bitcoin since $10,000 and I sell it to you at 90,000, that Bitcoin's new realized price is 90,000. If I was still holding it and my cost basis where I bought it was 10,000, then that Bitcoin's cost basis would be 10,000. This is the average of every Bitcoin on the network. And the fact that it's at $56,000, and we see that when Bitcoin's price falls below realized price is an overwhelmingly good buying opportunity. It gives me confidence to not be worried that, yeah, I want everything to go up forever and I want it to happen right now. But that's not going to happen on a 4-hour chart, a 15-minute chart, a daily chart, hell, even a weekly chart. We see necessary oscillations in price actions, especially in an emerging asset class of the most important asset probably in human civilization, other than domestication of animals and and farm developing a farm and all that kind of stuff, right? The shaping of civilization. This is that next step, an asset, Bitcoin, that has a fixed total cap supply that cannot be manipulated by the demonic government structures out there that maybe they don't intend to when they start, but they always pervert the means by which money is operated and transmitted and utilized and printed. It just is damaged everything. It devalues you as a human when they print money. And Bitcoin, and the world is realizing this, is not only unstoppable, these oscillations are people getting too excited or too fearful, and this trajectory to up and to the right is going to continue. And there's going to be violent swings to the downside. I look forward in the future when we're way up in these zones, when we're 300, 480,000. I'm not even saying when that will happen, but when we have $100,000 dip on Bitcoin before continuing higher. This is one of those assets you really need to understand what's happening here and realize that, especially from this point right here to where we're at right now, this is the amount of time, this is it, that the world has started to accept Bitcoin. Now, you could argue El Salvador was, a bit earlier, back here in 2022 or something like that. I can't remember the date. Sorry, I got the coughs. But the U.S. stepping in, the fact that you have different world governments that are mining Bitcoin, that are stacking Bitcoin, that are utilizing different means and mechanisms to really start building a stack. And even if the most simple thing is happening, them having discussions and starting to set up votes and discussions on a parliamentary or upper, top level government officials, what is going to be our strategy to deal with this, to accumulate it, to limit it. These conversations are important. And again, this is all we have of Bitcoin being on the world stage in which it's being talked about meaningfully. I want you to realize that. So when people are worried about this bear market that's going to happen because there's one metric I saw and it's a 4-year because of halving, and so we have to do this now. Now, again, we very well may come down here into the $56,000 region, but look at the difference between that would be right to 56. That would basically be another 35% move to the downside. Not so bad. And that's not like this, let's see what that was. That is an additional 60% down. I don't think we're getting that. I really don't. And I'm going to show you why. Now, coming back over to this article, there's a couple key reasons why. Now, we have this extraordinarily negative, basically mood with retail, but institutional investors are unremittingly bullish. And these are the type of players that you want to really be when you're thinking about a long-term investment play and worried about price action going one direction or another. The institutional investors are going to be the ones that really, at this point, really drive the price value, the assumed price value, what's Bitcoin's value in dollars, which I hope you all get to the point where you stop valuing Bitcoin in dollars. One Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. That's all you should be worried about. But we're all degens and we want to trade it on a daily basis. So This is why we need to pay attention to this. Retail, exhausted, scared. Institutional investors, unremittingly bullish, according to Bitwise asset manager Matt Hogan. In addition to this, we're also going to start seeing a lot of people start realizing that Bitcoin, this alternative, digital gold narrative, store of value, but also a debasement hedge to pick up next year, meaning people are going to start realizing that it's not just a tech asset you're trading alongside. When it's risk on, I'm in. When it's risk off, I'm out. No. Remember, not only is Bitcoin 24/7, 365, so it's been this tappable asset liquidity pool that moves before other markets because other markets are closed when some of this shit's going down, right? Well, we already have clarity around them stepping into futures going 24 or near 24/7. And of course, the traditional stock exchange is also making moves to start being 24/7 market. So that sort of Bitcoin being tapped first because everything else is closed, that narrative is going to collapse here in the near future as well. So we need to realize that. And in addition to all this, we also see the crypto industry has said that regulation, this is one of the things, although we've won being on the world stage in 2025, everybody's saying that regulation was holding back its potential and that it's going to upend and replace the existing financial system. Well, what hasn't happened this year? The regulation that has been discussed has not actually come to true fruition. Now that a crypto-friendly administration has paved the way, this is what everybody's waiting on. Investors, especially these major players like the institutional investors out there, are waiting for some of those promised developments to be realized. Well, are there any promised developments that can be realized? Well, I'm glad you asked. Eleanor Tourette, great follow. Make sure you're following her if you haven't yet. I got this from her page. This is her name right here. Great account. But she's really been breaking down what's going on in the political region. Don't worry, I'm going to get to the charts here in just a couple minutes. So make sure you stick around. And again, I just want to, wish every single one of you a happy end of year, a happy new year, a happy heart, happy mind, happy spirit. Let's do our part. I'm gonna share some thoughts on that at the very end. I want to leave you with an inspirational message at the end, but let's get back into the stories. But I just love you all so much. And I'm proud of our community. I'm proud of each and every one of you. And we got to trudge through the sludge, right? This noise that's in the market, this hope about what Bitcoin and crypto can do for my profits and change my life, but also the noise about it might go into a bear market. Well, if it can change your life, then why are you so worried in the near term that you might have better buying opportunities presenting? That's one of the things we need to get through our head. But getting back to the story here, man, starting the new year with the cough. It's all good. This is the big deal. Coming back over to this, investors are waiting for some of those promised developments to be realized. Well, what are they? One of those is the market structure bill. The banking committee, senators on the banking committee have just landed on Thursday, January 15th for a highly anticipated markup of the crypto market structure legislation. So there are, although it feels slow, and it's never happening, there are meaningful steps being taken to get to this. What is this blabbering again? Hey, it's just talking about markets, talking about what's going on and how we can look into 2026 and feel like we have some idea of what's going on. So January 15th, they're talking about the market structure bill. And when we're talking about what's going on October 10th, remember that, the big washout? Some of these things are going to start to get less wild, wild west in the market. When you start getting regulation that gives clarity, not only to stablecoins in the Genius Act and the market structure bill, it starts really outlining what the parameters are, what the boundaries are, what the limitations are, and what is acceptable to happen for investors, especially institutional investors and big money players or legacy TradFi investors, even if they're not mega whales, but there's plenty of multimillionaires or 100,000aires. And this money stacks up to the trillions that are waiting on a little bit more of, hey, this is the absolute parameter roadmap, what's acceptable, what's not just for us as an investor, but for how things are enacted and happens and what happens with washouts and market makers and all. I mean, there's so much that goes into all this that it's going to bring some clarity around that. And I do think that once this stuff happens, I think it's going to be boom season for the market. Now, continuing on from that, again, we got that key level that we've been watching that is a downside target, and it's so scary. I just want to highlight it again, this $56,000. I am so bullish on 2026. I don't think we're going to hit this. The reason I'm highlighting this over and over is because if the price goes down to 56,000, I know so many people are going to sell because they're like, it's over. And most of these people would have bought much higher and selling down here like a fool. Now, why would that be foolish? Because as I pointed out before, when Bitcoin's price goes to or below the realized price, which is the average price of every Bitcoin in circulation the last time it moved, it shows you when the price comes down to it, this has been an excellent time to buy. Look at this, COVID crash, boom. Stellar time to buy. Here's the crash in 2018 all the way into 2019. We came under it, overwhelmingly good time to buy. This has been the story of realized price being a great signal. Now, again, I don't think we're going to get there. One of the reasons is when we're looking at what's going on basically on these key levels on the charts, we have the realized price, which is every coin on the network. Then you also have the long-term holder realized price or just the short-term holder realized price. So while I'm a bull, I will say, and I'm gonna really highlight this for you. I want to show that one. Here we go. Here's the realized price. There we go. This is realized price, every coin on the network. And then we have the short-term holder cost basis. This is every coin that's basically traders or new retail, coins that have been bought and sold and only held up to 155 days. When price gets below this, it's a very important level to watch because if we get a bounce, which I expect we will likely get a bounce in Q1, if we don't completely break down from here, I'm expecting we're going to break up out of this. With a caveat that we may get a little bit of a washout, but we really need to watch this level, which happens to be right just under $100,000. So if we get all of a sudden it's exciting, oh my God, we're 94, we're 97. That doesn't really give any confirmation. It's exciting, but you want to watch for this potential rejection, which it probably will reject the first time. Much like right here, you see how the price came down, rejected, kind of rejected, launch. So right here, look, rejected, launch. This actually broke above, found support and launched. So the point here is this is a very important level for short-term holders that if there's basically this is average price for short-term holders. So if the price moves back to that level, there's going to be some near-term players that get out because they're back to the price that they got in, if that makes sense. Long story short, if this bounces up, just be cautious at $100,000, $99,000. If it gets rejected, it doesn't mean it's over. Just watch what the price action is after it rejects. If it rejects and you get a higher low and then breaks through, great. But you just need to be patient as this stuff is unfolding from this move. Because remember, we've had this drawn out for some time. And that is, let me make this a bit bigger. We have all of this liquidity above us where all of this price action, chop, a bounce on top. Okay, bounce on top, rejection on top, rejection on the bottom. So we have this kind of painted area of heavy resistance. Why? Because it's been both support and resistance throughout this. So this is going to be a heavy resistance zone. And look at where it starts, $91,800, $92,000. And it goes all the way up in here to about $98,000, which is right about where that short-term holder cost basis is. The point being is, even though I'm bullish on 2026, 160, 180, whatever it's going to be, this is an area that has to be tackled before that happens. It doesn't just go straight up. You're going to have price action that, even though I'm bullish again, I think this is still going to have some move to the downside before, you're going to have to do some work and then get your move, right? You have to build structure, get rejection at key levels, find support at a higher new low, break out of that, find support above the previous resistance. Structure. We need to build structure, and the chart paints the areas of where there is liquidity. This was a great example here. And look, as this broke out, when it came back, it tapped right on that previous resistance. Now support. Similarly here, if this breaks out of this, we'd like to have support on this before moving higher. Now, what's going to give us indication about what's likely going to happen? What could it be? Well, there's a couple things. First off, you get some funny jokes like this is exactly what everybody wants. This is the only technical pattern you need for Bitcoin. It's going up and to the right. But as entertaining as this doesn't give us any context. What is the context of the market? First off, we've highlighted this in different ways throughout the last many months, but this is a liquidity weighted business cycle. And forget everything you know about the halving cycle based on Bitcoin's halving, the mining rewards, right? And just look at the Bitcoin price structure as it relates to what happens with the liquidity. There we go. I was trying to zoom in with my left hand. Liquidity weighted business cycle. On this low, and this breaks out, this also marked the low on Bitcoin before it went into the parabolic run. See this move right here? This is the liquidity cycle. Topped, look at that, top, comes down, finds a support, boom, actually establishes a trend line now. And look at this, we kind of already established our low. It's kind of tried to start to melt up, but then boom, right here, this is the predecessor right before we really got that parabolic upturn, the excitement, the momentum to really swing to the upside. Then again, tops right in the same territory, moves to the downside. Here we go, boom, on a trend line now. And this is, look at this, COVID crash. Perfect, parabolic right after it. Here we are on the same level. And again, this doesn't mean today or on the day that this bounced, that was Bitcoin's bottom, because we see that the Bitcoin has dropped a little bit since then. The point here is that this is setting up for if this is going to maintain like it is, and we're seeing the development in AI, we're seeing what's going on in the stock market, we're seeing every number that you typically would look at feels like you're looking through a prism of historical trends, because everything feels broken, but at the same time, they're coming up with all these different new and innovative or creative or subversive new fire hoses of cash to pump into the market. So if this is going to bounce like it has in these previous 3 times, and it's going to do this a 4th time here, then what you could correlate, and it's not an exact correlation, you could say that it's likely we're also going to see Bitcoin pump in the face of the liquidity cycle also expanding. But is it just that? Is that the only signal? No. We also have the MVRV score. Now, getting back over to this right here, talking about realized price, right? Well, this is another way to look at that data. This is a market value, the price of Bitcoin on exchange, to realized value, realized price. And this swing here, the Z score, this is the separation of how much further the price went up. Then you get a deviation in terms of the price versus the realized price. You see, like right here, see how this is moving, this is curving up slowly, but the price expands very fast. See how this Z score, boom, goes up really fast. It's showing the difference in the distance between these two, essentially, on the most basic way to describe that. So what we're seeing here kind of gets very overheated, meaning the market value, the parabolic run has caused such a separation from how far the price is deviated away from the realized price that it's also signaled like you're coming into kind of topping territory. Look at this, boom, top. Now this went exorbitant, but the price also reset back down. Went really exorbitant. We had these resets along the way. Remember in 2017, I think there was 11 moves of 15% or more. 8 of those moves were 35 to 45% in terms of crashes from down here at $200 all the way up to 20,000. But the point is, look at how low this is. So we're looking at tops, great. What do the lows mean? Well, let's look at the low. That's the bottom in 2019. Boom. That's the bottom right here in this swing right here from the 2014 bear market into 2015 lows. The MVRV price got so low. The price relative, the Z score here. Similarly right here, FTX collapse. Look how low that is. This is the 2-year rolling MVRV Z score. It's the lowest it's ever been. Some could argue that means that Bitcoin, despite being people look at price and they think it has any value. The price means nothing to technical analysis unless you're using price in relationship to other data points. Bitcoin is not expensive or cheap at $100,000. Bitcoin is not expensive or cheap at $1 million. It's correlated to what's going on the rest of the foundation, on the fundamentals of the network, hash rate, usage, the structure that's around it, what's going on the liquidity cycles, all these things and the patterns that take shape give you context. And in this case, although price went from $15,500 to over $126,000, and we're in a little bit of a correction right now. But is this over? Is it near being over? Because this metric right here, being the lowest it's ever been, tells me that it's more likely that we're near a bottom of this short-term downtrend, near a bottom of this, because this is a larger, almost a macro midterm macro look. MVRVZ score is so low, it tells me that we're actually setting up a very undervalued setup price level for looking at what's possible next. To me, it's more possible that we're going to get a positive move out of this than a massive crash down to $56,000, right? And then you got this macro bottom signal. What do we see? Bottom. This is almost a perfect line. Bottom. Look at where we're at right now. Bottom. So we're not getting one signal. We're not getting two signals. We're not getting just hopium from crypto YouTubers. We're not just saying, hey, I want the price to go up, so let me look at a 4-hour chart and find an indicator that has a bullish divergence that means it's going to go up. That doesn't mean shit. You have to look at the context surrounding the asset class. The fact that gold and silver have gone parabolic, breaking people's mind. Like, what? How far silver just absolute rocket shipped up this year? Gold, Nvidia, there is money out there. And in some ways, you could argue that some of the reason why Bitcoin hasn't performed as well is because these other much more legacy assets in 2025 have been a vacuum for major institutional allocations. In addition to the parabolic nature, bringing in retail to that hype. We never got the hype zone in this market. We never had new retail in Bitcoin and crypto this cycle, except for some very outlier moments like Trump's meme coin that brought in some people and then wrecked them. Then you got wrecked them. Had to have some humor on a New Year's Eve, right? Then you also got the ETFs, where there is buying from new retail allocations and that, but that's structured buying from people that have, I don't want to say more of a clue, more of a patience strategy in terms of how they interact with market, right? So you're not getting retail hype buying into the ETF for Bitcoin because we never had any momentum to really get there. In addition to all the things that have happened this year with the flip-flopping back and forth with the risk narrative because of the tariffs, because of what's going on geopolitically, different conflicts, the government shutdown, the Japanese yen carried. There's been a lot. There's been a lot that has happened in the last year and a half that has affected trade signal in terms of where risk is going, right? So we need to look at things in context. And in all honesty, let me ask you all a question right now. And I want you to be honest. Drop a comment when I ask you this question. I'd love to hear your take. Were you more excited about Bitcoin or altcoins? It doesn't matter which one. Has that narrative changed for you? Are you starting to capitulate on the idea, the premise of where you think this asset class is going to go? Has this 2025 changed your perspective on the where you think the impact of blockchain and digital assets is going to go? Has that evaporated for you? Do you think it's just maybe going to happen over a lot longer time period? I'm curious what you all think, because for me, I'm more bullish based on what's happened in the last year and a half, even though we are seeing, headlines like this. And again, remember, the crypto industry won everything people were hoping for. And they said, if this happens, the market's going to go boom. It's going to absolutely go moonshot. And it's been a sideways, in fact, a bit of a down year. And it's not just down. That's this Bitcoin, right? Let's go to the weekly chart. Let's turn off all the lines. So this has been since 2023, started the bull market. This has been just beautiful structure, up, up, up. We're at this kind of juncture. People are like, is this going down or is this going to move up? But remember, this is 2025 right here. From here to here. This is 2025. That's it. But then you come over here and you look at altcoins. Let's go to the beginning of 2025, which is right. Where is it at? Right here. So beginning of 2025 actually starts up here. And it's basically been, I don't want to say down only, but it's just been a whipsaw of just down, a dead cat bounce, and then back down. So altcoins have just been hurting. But then you have the hopium with the Bitcoin dominance. It broke down. It's alt season. We did have a little mini alt season, but then we have this washout that completely cleansed the market. Yes, cleansed. Everybody was so over leveraged, and they came back down. And this is just hanging out here, trying to give people hope, but also not give them enough signal that this is going to move. This is why this next year is the year, everybody. This next year is the year that you're going to realize what your convictions are in this market. Are you buying just because you need it to pump in the next 2 weeks, the next 6 months, the next 3 years? I think the people that have the longer term mindset are going to make the most money. I really do. I think people need to be paying attention to what their diligence is. Listen to YouTube, go through crypto Twitter, but get varying different viewpoints on the landscape around what is happening, not just things that confirm your bias. If I'm bullish, go listen to somebody that's bearish. If I'm bearish on something, go look at somebody that's bullish. And you've got to give yourself a well-rounded thesis that exposes all possibilities. And then from that, you can make your decision of what's going on. But when we come back over to this, and again, we remember that the technical signals show that we are at the most sort of precarious position that has always suggested a bottom. And yet we're all the way up here. This is what perplexes people. We've gone all the way up here. We haven't really had a bear market correction. We haven't. We've had corrections along the way, the stair step, bullish structure all the way through. So we have a low that's all the way up here, which to me makes it feel like we're more middle of the cycle. And everybody's still so hung up on the 4-year cycle narrative that it's just confusing the living hell out of themselves. And then we got this. This is what I really wanted to show you. Liquidity. Well, if Liquidity runs Bitcoin and crypto markets, as I postulated earlier and showed some charts highlighting that, then one of the things that really calculates and takes into account the global landscape, especially the U.S., especially interest rates and the Fed and the Treasury, blah, 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 all of it, the housing market, the jobs reports, all that, is when you look at how the bond market is reacting, increasing, decreasing percentage rates. And they're trying to buffer what's going on the global financial landscape, especially the U.S., let's say the U.S. financial landscape. And based on the oscillations and movements in the 2-year and the 10-year, it really gives you an idea what's going on. Remember, we got kind of leading headway wind about what was going on in the Japanese market, the Japanese yen and the carry trade and all that. The signals were there before that because of the Japanese bonds. So whether or not you understand that or not, let's make it super simple. If we are at a top, we've shown signals that have highlighted what a top would look like, but we're seeing signals that we're at a bottom, but it's kind of midway through a bullish structure. So it's confusing the living hell out of people because they want up or down now. And it's really just shaking all the cobwebs off of all those narratives. What we're seeing here, back to the bond market, which is a economic professional look at what the expected outcomes of liquidity are going to be. Well, the first, Bitcoin just flashed its 5th golden cross, and this is not the MACD. The first 4 all led to explosive rallies. You can see the green box, green box, green box, green box. Now the 5th print, and everyone is bearish and bored. This is the 10-year and the 2-year bonds is turning. Liquidity pressure is easing, and Bitcoin is coiled under resistance while everybody is scared as shit. Retail doesn't get it right, boys and girls. Now, the difference between you and I and the rest of the market is we are all retail, yes, but all of you that are watching right now, we also have the ability to look at the data the monsters out there are utilizing and make smart money decisions versus retail reactions. That's the difference between smart money retail and just people that just get chopped alive in this market. Now, we're seeing this. This is when we got the clip right here. Look at this. Look at that, the tightening 2-year, 10-year bond. You see this moving down. What happened to Bitcoin's price? It went flat. But then, okay, we found a bit of a bottom here, and boom, look at this. Crossover, we got an 87% pump. Okay, look, it kind of rolled over here. Look at that. What did price do? Rolled over. Okay, boom, we got a golden cross. Boom, went up 47%. Same thing here. We had a 7-month sideways price action. It's because Bitcoin went up to a new all-time high before the halving. Okay, what if you knew nothing about the halving and you're looking at other data points? Well, look at the 2-year and 10-year basically bearish cross here, and it's just been constricting this entire way. And look at what the price action did. Couldn't run away. But then, the bond market, boom, flipped. It's almost like an aggregate view of what's happening in the liquidity conditions in the US. Positive or negative, right? Boom, flips back positive, 78% pump. Oh my God, it rolled. Look at that. We got the run up, but then why is it not continuing? Look at the bond market. Boom. Similar right here. Boom, got the cross, 33% pump. And now we're lower than we've been on all of these. We have extreme extended fear, and people are losing their minds, and yet we just got a golden cross. And people, again, I'll say it, there's a possibility we go down to $56,000. I think that is, I'd put it at like a 8%, 10% probability. If we go down, I think it's going to be a lot nearer, smaller zones. And I've said this for a while. I'm still actually kind of in some ways think it would make sense to see this structure right here, this sort of W pattern. It's starting to go up and then boom, wash out and then launch. Well, that set up also a bullish divergence here on the 12-hour, 8-hour on the daily, where strength was coming in while price really washed people out and then launch. I'm not saying we have to get it, but I'm just saying that everybody's got their eyes on the realized price, 40,000. It's good. I see people in here commenting, Kelly, it's going to 40. It's going to, it's not. It's not. I will say it's not. And I don't know, I'll eat something disgusting if it does. But it's a very, very lower probability. I'm thinking here, we either have a little bit of a washout here, but this would make most sense to me to have a little bit of a washout down here, sets up a bullish divergence, and then you get a launch, or all these other conditions that we've already just been highlighting throughout don't require that bullish divergence to form. But I do think the conditions are set up that we are going to see some extreme bullishness in 2026. Because then we get to the more basic stuff. The MACD, 3-day chart, flipping bullish, flip bullish, flip bullish, flip bullish, flip bullish. Let's look at the price action every time that happened. Every one of these. So it is a number of things. And then the last thing I want to share with you before we go, and then I have a positive message I'd love to share with each and every single one of you, is that what's going on right now, when you zoom out and realize all of this is noise in the near term, and I'm not saying, I must be getting a cold or something. I'm not saying this is exact, but Smithson with awesome guy. We had him on the Discover Crypto X Spaces a while back. There's a rule here, and it doesn't mean it has to happen, but there's been something that's been noticed. The 50-10 rule, a 1.5 increase of Bitcoin's age, meaning an increase by 50%, right? Corresponds to a 10x increase in price action. Well, that doesn't make sense. Well, let's look at it. Let's look at exactly what that means. Now you see how this extends out further and further. What this means is every time the age gets 50% more, which means it would take more time, right? 50% more time. There's been a 10x in price action. This basically is another way to look at the power law of what's going on. I mean, what do you notice? Massive deviations above that zone and some deviations below, some deviations below, some deviation below. So I think at minimum, we can all stand to be a bit more patient with price action. We can all stand to look for opportunities to buy the things that we really love. If it's Bitcoin, if it's Ethereum, if you love Cardano, if you love Avalanche, if you love whatever it is, make sure you're rooting it and balancing it in the diligence that is necessary to understand the technical components of that. I didn't mean you have to go and be able to write a smart contract, but understand the token supply, the emission schedule, what's going on with VC lockups that can get released and be dropped on the market, what's going on if there's halving schedules, or understand these different things. Realize that when you're looking at, guys, this still makes me laugh so much. When you're looking at a coin, this price doesn't freaking matter. What do I mean? Is Monero worth less than Zcash? Not because of this. This doesn't matter. It's because of this, the market cap. If you come up here and you go, well, I don't want to buy Ethereum because it's $2,968. I want to get Dogecoin instead because it's 11 cents. What if Dogecoin goes to the price of Ethereum? Well, let's go ahead and look at something. There's 120 million Ethereum. Cool. So here's the market cap right here, 358 billion. So if you divide 358 billion by 120 million, you get that price. That's all the price is a function of. The market cap divided by the supply, boom. Well, let's look at Dogecoin. $19 billion. Okay, cool. $19 billion. That's pretty major for a meme coin. And I'm not even hating on Doge. That's not what I'm saying. I want you all to understand the technical component of this when you're looking at prices of an asset. Because it's cheaper, the price of that individual token doesn't make it better or more or less. You have to look at this. These rankings are not by how cool they are. It's the market cap. Look, each one's progressively smaller, but the prices are all over the place because the prices are a function of the supply. And what is Dogecoin? 168 billion coins in printing more. 168 billion divided by 19 billion is 11 cents. So don't think, oh my God, well, I would get Cardano, but Cardano is more expensive than Dogecoin. Understand these things when you're stepping into this year. I still get so many people, and I know we get new people that come in and they don't understand. Just understand that. Bro Tech talking day one basics. That's right. Well, you got to. The real PG 777. We can't all just be assholes and assume that everybody knows everything. We need to throw the rope back to people. We need to make sure people don't come in, listen. They don't understand what the hell's going on, so they just get completely disinterested and leave. Sometimes you got to throw the rope back. You got to be compassionate and loving and patient with people, especially, remember, an emerging asset class. But with that being said, I want us all to think about our energy as we go into the end of this year, as we go into next year. And imagine, this might sound weird, but imagine if your energy had a smell. If you're like a good mood, a bad mood, right? An uplifting mood, an angry mood, right? Angry mood, or just, being an asshole or whatever. Think of that as like a very, just gross smell. You clear the room. You're negatively affecting other people, right? But uplifting mood could be, you can describe whatever smell you'd want to it. But just think, if you're walking through a room or anything you're doing over the next, couple days, the next week, month, the whole year, how is your energy? Is it inviting to people? Are you leaving people refreshed? Are you contributing to the stink of bad energy, bringing people down? If somebody else has bad energy, are you then shifting your energy also to be bad, also to make it smell even worse? I'm just using that as a metaphor there, but let's all try to do our best to be aware of how we're affecting other people, how we're impacting other people, how we're being impacted by other people, and how we're dealing with that. Because somebody else is having a bad day doesn't mean you have the right to all of a sudden be an asshole also. And I fall victim to this all the time. So I'm talking to myself more than I'm talking to anybody else. But we need to be steadfast in our skin, steadfast in our heart, steadfast in our spirit, in our faith, however you process these things, that you are unaffected in terms of this other person is not going to change the mood that I am going to be the dominant presence of energy, and I'm going to be a positive impact for other people. But I love you guys. I appreciate you guys looking at this market as we wrap out 2025. Let's take a look. We got Bitcoin 87.5. What price? Everybody right now. I'm going to read some of these, and as I read them, then you drop your comments in there. What price do you think Bitcoin is going to be New Year's next year? Because we've got some data here. Previous New Year's, there's been some swings, but it's predominantly been up and to the right. 755. Oh, it's down. Oh, it's up. It was up. It was up. It was down. It was up. It was up. It was up. It's down. It's up. It's up. Oh, it's down. But it's up and to the right. So when we're looking at this, what price do you think Bitcoin is going to be next New Year's Eve? Ethereum's at 29.69. The stable coin that's oscillating around 3,000 like nobody can understand, but everybody can understand, but it's frustrating. Where do you think Ethereum's going to be New Year's Eve? Not the high in 2026. Where do you think Ethereum's going to be New Year's Eve next year? BNB is at 862. You can also drop where you think BNB is going to be. XRP, somebody said it's tanking. Last hour, down 0.41%. I wish you guys would understand what tanking and crashing and pumping means, but Solana 124. That's at that key kind of zone we've been watching that I've had highlighted and I've told you about this zone right here. I told you about it when the price was up here, watching for coming back into this liquidity zone. If that's lost, I think we're coming down to 102 and then likely down into 84. Again, if that's lost, if Bitcoin starts to have a pump out of this will likely be running up as well. Aerodrome, just giving dream buys for people that believe in Aerodrome. Dream buy central. Why? Because this came down to this known level that we've been watching since all the way back here. This is, just support, lost it, came right down to the zone we talked about it last week here, 41, 42 cents. It's below that. The next zone down we'll be watching down is about 32 cents, I think. And again, Aerodrome is one of my higher conviction plays in the crypto ecosystem. What else we got? Let's look at a couple more. Where's Doggy Boy at? Doggy has just been bleeding along with everything else. Great buy opportunity now, sub 0.0009. But following this track, boom. A meme coin that is a part of Bitcoin. So I'll be watching if you like that one. Chainlink in this liquidity zone that we've had drawn since over here. We had this box drawn. It's been sitting in that. If that's lost, I'd be watching for a move down into the 9 or 8s. This would be a pretty known zone. Why? Because look, resistance, support. So this would be a dream buy opportunity if Chainlink comes down in here. But where do you think Chainlink? Where do you comment right now and comment later if you're watching later? Where do you think Chainlink will be the high in 2026? And also, where do you think it's going to close at or be on the day of New Year's Eve next year? Curious to hear y'all's thoughts. And of course, Tau, that AI play, it's probably my favorite AI play out there. It's in the liquidity zone that we've had drawn for quite some time. If this is lost, I think, this could really sweep down, but I don't really see that. But guys, I love you. It's been a year. It's been an exhausting year. It's been a thriving year. It's been inspiring, degrading, wonderful, hard, positive, negative. We've learned a lot this year. You've all been here along the way. I love you all so much. Go drop some positive comments for other people. Be kind. Have a wonderful new year. That's all I got on today's last live stream of the year. I do want to do a special shout out for our family of sponsors, Arculus. Make sure you're protecting yourself. If you haven't done it yet, it's the last day of the year. Don't step into this next year if you do not have cold storage. Head over to getarculus.com. Use code DC20 for 20% off. It's the best crypto cold storage solution there is. And of course, Bitcoin IRA, family brand with us. We love Bitcoin IRA. It's a great positive utility play that you can utilize to take advantage of. Basically, if you have an old IRA that you're just kind of bored with, or you don't know how you can get more exposure to Bitcoin or crypto assets, you can roll those into Bitcoin IRA and basically roll over that and not have all the tax burden of trading things to make things happen. Or if you want to just do your maximum contribution, but give them a call. They're the experts at this. 1-877-936 7175. Let them know Kelly Kellum sent you, or Discover Crypto. But you can day trade, up to 80, 85, 87 different currencies. It's not just Bitcoin. They got a lot of different stuff, different assets on there as well. But we really do appreciate you guys. Hope you all have an absolutely wonderful New Year's. And with that, I will see you in the next year. Adios, muchachos.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.